Hello, welcome to Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're going to be reviewing Tip of the Diceberg by John Barron.
Yes, this is from his company, Barron Games. A wonderful pun. And a card-shedding game, but also with dice, as appropriate with the title.
Yep. I'm going to show you briefly how this is generally played, and then we'll come back. Tip of the Diceberg is a shedding game where players are going to be playing different melds of cards throughout the round. And as they do so, they're going to be using cards and dice to make those combinations. At the beginning of a round, players are going to be dealt a hand of cards, and then they're going to do a snake draft. So starting with the first player, everyone's going to draft a die, and then starting with the last player, everyone's going to draft a die again. And then so players at the beginning of the round are going to have 2 dice in front of them. Now, this is a game where lowest is what beats, and so therefore, as players start playing melds, they may play a pair. Someone else might play, a set of rainbow cards. Things have to be lower. So, for example, if this was played first, then because 4 is the lowest number, the 3s could be played. However, if the 3s were played first, then these 4, 5, 6 could not be played because they're considered higher. Now, as long as a player has a number that is, that needed an orange in there. As long as players have a number that is the lowest, they're fine. So even though the 7 and 8 are higher, this 1 is lower than anything else that's been played, so this can be played. If a player can't play a meld or chooses not to play a meld, they can draft a card and a die and pass for that round. If they choose to do so, they can hop in later as long as everyone hasn't passed except for the person to play the last card. Once everyone's passed, that person that has played last is considered to have won the trick. And then we're going to go ahead and clear off all these cards and then start the next trick. Once a player has completely emptied their hand out of cards, that's considered a round. Players are going to play 3 rounds, and the person with the highest score is going to win. So how do you get points? Well, the first person out is going to get 3 points, the next person out will get 2 points, and then finally the last person out is going to get 0 points. And there you go, that's the gist of how you play Tip of the Diceberg. First off, starting with the dice, I think that's an interesting combination to start with.
Yeah, I agree, right? The idea that all the cards are tied to dice, which gives you an easy frame of reference for, like, the blue suit is the D6. So there's numbers 1 through 6.
Yeah, and that's something that I didn't really show in the overview, but like the D20, that red set of cards has 20 cards in it. Now, depending on player count, will determine whether or not you actually play with all of those. But yeah, it's an interesting way to make cards dice and dice cards because it adds a little bit more randomness. So you can't just count the cards.
Right, and this is clearly, or I think at least, right, in a card-shedding game format, kind of a love letter or like an appreciation wink nod, little like, here's to you, kid, to a very obscure famous Japanese trick-taker game, if that makes sense, called Nakosa Dice, where you use cards and dice for trick-taking purposes. Mm-hmm. And so this one kind of feels like, yeah, but can you do that with card shedding? And I think that the answer to this is, yeah,
yes, you can.
You can do some pretty clever stuff with it, actually.
Yeah. I also think that it tripped me out the first play that I had of you have to, like, lower wins. And I think that messed with my brain at first, but once I got it down, I was like, okay, this makes sense. So it's like a meet or beat system, but it's more a meet or lower system.
Yeah.
To beat. Yeah, so it's an interesting mind trip, but I like that you can play out, if you have someone's played 3 3s, I can also come in with a 3 to that single odd space, place that down, because you just want to be at that equal level or lower.
And it's fun, too, because at first I thought, like, I got it, the 20-sided die is always going to be better. Oh, no, it's actually kind of the worst one, right?
Yeah.
But all dice go down to 1, so I think that lower system is not just a gimmick to be different. Like, it really makes sense mechanically. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, learning that, like, it's a lot of games like this, like Big Two and, I forget all of the, people always say, like, this is a card shedding game. You're trying to get rid of your hands like XYZ game. There's tons of these, right? Mm-hmm. And so, unlike a lot of them where you say, I play 3 3s, someone else goes, okay, well, I have to keep playing 3 cards. The fact that it forces you to play different combinations and different melds It's a pretty nice hook, actually.
It is really interesting because I feel like there's so much power behind those single card spaces, those single card melds, but you also kind of want to save them to a point where you really need them, but also if someone else takes them first, you just can't use them. So it's interesting. You'd be like, oh, I have a flush. This is perfect. I'm going to have my moment. I'm going to get that special power because those cards on the bottom do have special powers when you play to them. And you're like, this is my moment. And then someone else does it right before you. And you're like, okay, my moment is now past. What can I do with my hand?
And that's another great feature, right? As you pointed out, that top row is like those are steady with every game. And then is it 4 that you switch out of the like advanced ones or whatever? And some of those are harder to do, runs of 5 in a row or whatever, right? But then there's also ones that are easier that require specific suits or like dice colors and stuff. And so you're going to have that variation each time you play, which I like that little touch. And that it also gives a different power. Reroll some dice, change things out, right? Draft extra dice in the middle or whatever those special little powers might be, if you can make that work. And also when you pass, grabbing an extra die seems like kind of a punishment, but in a lot of ways gives you more flexibility to accomplish those more powerful combination melds, if you will.
Right. And when you're choosing those dice, you have that choice of, do I want a low number because low numbers are the best? Or do I want something that helps me create one of those bigger, stronger, harder to get melds?
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of really good decision space in this. And I think that you have to be very flexible with your hand. This is not one of those shedding games where your hand is static, but instead you can move cards around. You can pull melds from different places. And so I appreciate that it has that sense of like, I have to kind of fly by the seat of my pants and, find ways to adjust it so that I can make it work.
Now, the biggest downside, I think, is something that you pointed out to me as we were like refreshing for this one. We're like, wait, where in the rule book does it state that lower is better? And we're rereading through the rule book, and it turns out it's on a little reference card on the side that explains that lower is better and that you have to go lower or at the same value. So if someone played a meld of 5-4-3, then you can go to a single space with a single 3 or lower. And so it's just, why?
So sad. Why is it not in the rule book? Yeah. I think that's just probably my biggest thing about this game is production-wise, visually-wise, like the actual pictures on the cards aren't super clear. There is a clarification card, which does actually clarify, so it works, but when you have the equal sign, you may think that it's the same number. It actually means the same suit, so you have something with like an equal signs and greater than, and you're like, what is going on? Like, this is equal, but it also has to be greater than. How does that work? So everything is clarified on the clarification cards, but really all that should be in the rule book.
Right. But that being said, you're able to play the game, able to have a good time.
Yeah.
So how would you come down score-wise on this one?
I'm going to come down as a 6.5 for this. I like what's going on in the game, and I like a lot of the actual like trick-taking and the playing of the game, or the shedding, I guess, for the tricks. It is a little bit of a brain burner in the sense that like, oh, I'm trying to get lower, and so it goes against all of my natural things that I've learned in this field of games. But I really enjoy it. The big kicker for me, I think, is just the production and the rules, and I think that it's a little bit hard to pull it out. Like, I played this first with the designer, and so I knew how to play it. I think if I went directly to the rules and even those extra cards, I think I would just be confused. And so that, to me, is sad that really lowers the game for me.
So I'm coming in a bit higher than that with recognizing all those negatives for sure. So I'm coming in at 7.5. I think that this is a really cool game, and where it gets the bonus extra push for me, despite its flaws, it does something very different, and I like that. And not only is it different, but it's different and it works well, and it's very fun to see those options of the different types of melds you can play disappearing, and you're sitting there going, okay, well, do I just jump right to throwing a single 1 on the single card space, or do I use a flush now since I can? Probably should do that, because then I'll get more cards out of my hand, but then, right? And so there's like these nice little layers of decision making, and it still moves quickly and breezily. So I like this one a lot. So yeah, give it a 7.5, which is enough to recommend it, giving Tip of the Diceberg a seal of approval from us here at the Dice Tower.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And go see icebergs, because they won't last long.
It won't last long? What? Go get your revenge on the icebergs for sinking that ship, the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.
I have learned to not stare into the LEDs.
Wow, look at you.
As they turn on.
Hello, welcome to Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we're going to be...
Today we're going to do...